winners? Let the pros show you how to make money. General Manager Al DeMarco, a regular contributor on Fox Sports, MSNBC, and Comcast Sports TV, brings over 25 years of handicapping experience to the table. CEO Steve Budin, the author of Bets, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, is the man responsible for creating the online betting industry. Together, they lead PickNation.com, your #1 source for winners.
The NFL, guys, is going to the dogs. Last week, the underdogs went 12-2 in Vegas. 9 of those puppies won outright. And for the season, the underdogs are now 25 games over 500. And Steve, as a former bookmaker, you are well aware of the fact that when underdogs are cashing like that, only 2 things are happening. Generally, gamblers are losing their shirts, and bookmakers, like you used to be, are making an absolute fortune.
And the other thing we see is that when you finally have a breakout week for the underdogs like this, all the followers come to the game. And now this week, everyone's going to be looking for underdogs only. It's a big mistake.
That's right, guys. Listen, after dogs have a big week, immediately everybody comes out of the woodwork. And Steve, you hear it all the time. These guys will say, oh, well, I only bet the dogs. That's all I do. It reminds me of a guy I used to work with years ago, a handicapper in this business who, during baseball season, he'd take 3 underdogs every single day. And he'd be crowing about the fact he hit the one big dog the next day. Well, if you hit one dog and lose the other 2, I don't care. It's still a losing day. You went to the dogs. Dogs sometimes are simply no more than dogs with fleas, and that's the thing with underdogs.
Yeah, and the biggest misconception is that Sharpies only bet the dogs. It's not true. Sharpies bet the winners, not just the dogs.
Exactly. Listen, guys, as I said, Steve used to be a former bookmaker, son of a bookmaker, and this is a guy who literally created what you now know as the offshore sportsbook betting industry. Myself, I've been a professional handicapper for over 25 years. I bring the experience I gained prior to being a handicapper as a reporter, covering all different sports in the locker rooms, on the field, around players, coaches, managers. I did that for 8 years, so that really shapes my handicapping experience. And that's why this show is so unique, Steve, because it's really the yin and yang. You get 2 different perspectives, literally both sides of the fence as we break down your top games.
Right, so you're the professional gambler. I'm the ex-biggest bookmaker in the world. And even though we see things from opposite sides of the spectrum, even though we come from opposite sides of the track, we share a business philosophy, and that is integrity, honesty, and transparency. And you can see that play out on PickNation.com. But more important than that, we share a betting philosophy, and that is you don't spread your money out across the table. You don't bet big lottery-style parlays. You find that one game, you use your opinion, I use my cruise, and you bang that game out.
That's exactly right. Listen, guys, I've never understood why guys bet multiple games. And years ago, when I first started gambling, if there were 20 games on the board, I'd find a way to bet 22 sides. FYI, that's how I rolled. But then I realized the odds are mathematically stacked against you. The more you bet, the more chances you have to lose. The vig will kill you. And again, as a former bookmaker, you love those type of suckers that were gamblers.
And that's what you want to see as a bookmaker. You want customers who are giving you tons and tons of volume. So rule number 1, don't give the bookmakers what they want. Cut your volume down. That's how you become a winner.
Listen, let's get going here with this week's edition of the Countdown to Kickoff program, the only nationally televised show that breaks down all your top college and pro games from a point spread perspective every single week. And we are joining you here for the 6th consecutive season on FoxSports.com. And Steve, the first game we're going to be taking a look at today is going to be the Minnesota-Arizona contest. 2 teams coming off losses. Minnesota getting upset by the Washington Redskins as RG3 had a monstrous game, running for 138 yards, passing for 182 yards, and a 38-26 home win over the Vikings. Meanwhile, Arizona, this team, I mean, you know, fast start. Hard to believe this is a team that went to New England and beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, and last week they lost at home to the Buffalo Bills, a Bills team that had just been annihilated the previous 2 weeks.
Right, so Kevin Cobb is out, John Skelton is in, but Al, I don't think it matters. I think me and you could play quarterback for Arizona. It wouldn't matter. These guys will not, do not. They just do not protect their quarterback. 28 sacks so far. I say it all the time. Very hard to complete a pass when you're on your back. And I look at the other side, Christian Ponder. He's going to have his hands full. Zona's going to be coming after him with all kinds of blitz schemes. You know, they play that zone blitzing. It's going to confuse Ponder. I'm a glass half empty guy on both of these teams. I'm going under the total, Al.
Okay, I'm not too sure about the total in this particular contest. It's sitting right around 40 points. I will say, though, I actually like Minnesota because I look at last week. They just ran into a mobile quarterback that gave them fits. You hit on the fact that this Arizona offensive line was unable to protect Kevin Cobb, giving up 23 sacks the past 3 games. Well, John Skelton is not much more mobile than Kevin Cobb is, and you got Jared Allen there, who's had 26 sacks the last 2 years combined, leading a very good Vikings defense. Christian Ponder, you know, had a good game last week against Washington. I mean, he threw for 352 yards, a couple touchdowns, did have 2 interceptions with Peterson, still nursing a little bit of a sprained ankle. It has me a little concerned, but I still think the way personally to go in this game is to take the Vikings minus the 6 points in this particular spot. I'm not concerned at all that Arizona's covered 8 of their last 10 as an underdog. This is a team in a state of flux. Good defense, no offense. Vikings at home, I think they can terrorize them here. Another interesting game is going to be Indianapolis and Cleveland. That's coming up in just a moment. But, Steve, let's talk about fantasy football. Every single week we run a contest at picknation.com. $500 total prize money, top 20 finish in the money, $125 to the first place winner. And this week it has a unique twist. It's a $2 entry fee, but here's the deal, guys. It's $2 to enter. I just gave you the prize money, total prize money $500, top 20 finishing in the money, $2 to enter, but you get $5 if you beat the expert. And who's the expert? This guy over here. The guy who finished 234th in last week's contest. The guy who finished 200th 2 weeks ago. The guy that finished 183rd 3 weeks ago. If you can't beat this guy and win at least $5, there is something wrong. And
why don't you say what you really mean? You know, if you average down, I'm about 170 average.
For the season.
For the season. Not so bad. Look, at the end of the day, it'll be a limited entry. We're only going to let 250 people enter. And all you have to do, like Al said, is beat me, and you're going to more than double your money. It's a very good deal. It's at draftstreet.com. But come to picknation.com. You'll see the big ad for the contest. Just click on it. It'll take you right to the right place.
And with the limited entry, guys, listen, you do have until 1 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday to go ahead and finalize your roster. But listen, you're watching this video early, get on board, enter the contest, $2 to enter, and again, $500 prize money, and beat the so-called expert right next to me.
Going to have a big week this week. We'll see.
Yeah, he's going to try to finish like somewhere around 160. Okay, next game is going to be Indianapolis and Cleveland. You know, the Colts last week got hammered at New York against the Jets. I think that was a typical letdown spot after that huge emotional win and comeback fashion the week prior after they were down 21-7 at halftime to Green Bay. That emotional game after the coach was diagnosed with leukemia and they had Bruce Arians taking over. I think the letdown was to be expected. This is an interesting spot, though, for Indianapolis. This team still isn't that good, guys, even though they added Luck. They still can't play defense. They can't run the ball. Cleveland coming off a big win against Cincinnati, their first win of the season last week. I think the Browns are the play here as the underdog.
And what I want to do is I don't want to blow that Brown win out of proportion. They beat the Bengals, true. But Andy Dalton, maybe not as good as we were giving him credit to be. And the Browns always get up for that game against Cincinnati. It's like their Super Bowl. Indianapolis, you're right. You know, they had a real big game 2 weeks ago, an emotional win against Green Bay. Makes total sense that they would have a letdown against the Jets. And rookie quarterbacks, they're always going to play better at home than they do on the road. So I like him coming back home now, Luck. I'm going to go against you. I'm going to lay the 3. We can save big and just bet each other.
Listen, guys, these are our opinions on various games. But if you want the best bets on the board, my best bet, the latest best bet from Steve's #1 Baltimore crew. That crew is only like 43-23 over the past 5 years combined. You can get them all for free today at picknation.com via the 1-day free all-access pass trial.
This is the best thing we have, and no other company does it. And the reason why they don't do it is because they want to get your money before they show you the goods. Us, on the other hand, very confident in what we do. We've been doing it longer than anyone else. We want to actually show you what we got before we make you stick your hand in your pocket. That's what this is all about.
And again, guys, no strings attached. Free means free. Check it out, the 1-day all-access pass free trial, picknation.com. All of our plays, over 10 handicappers, over $600 of action for free at picknation.com. Next game is Houston and Baltimore. And, Steve, I'm calling this the Fraud Bowl because both of these teams are frauds. Houston showed you last week that they are a fraud. Everybody was talking them up to be Super Bowl contenders. They got hammered at home. And trust me, I know because I bet the Texans last week. So, I mean, Aaron Rodgers destroyed that secondary.
Nothing like a gambler scoring.
No, I mean, 6 touchdown passes by Aaron Rodgers. My God, he must have known that I bet the Texans. And then Baltimore, I've told you guys all season long, the Ravens were no good defensively, and they've proven it repeatedly. They barely hung on for the 31-29 home win against Dallas last week. Costly win as well. They lost 2 more starters, Ray Rice, their cornerback, Ladarius Webb as well. This defense is crumbling, but this is an interesting price. I think it's a fair price because Baltimore has struggled on the road. Remember, 2 weeks ago, this team just went to Kansas City, barely got by the Kansas City Chiefs 9-6. Flacco on the road this year is completing like 51% of his passes, only averaging 20 points a game on the road. 6.5. I think this is a make-or-break game for the Texans.
I agree with you. And you go back 2 weeks, like you said, this Houston team was considered the most elite, the best team. Then they had the lackluster performance against the depleted Jets. They doubled down on that performance with an even worse performance against Green Bay. And now they're looking to right the ship against the Baltimore team that has lost their heart and soul. Ray Lewis out for the season. He was their leader. He was their inspirer. He was a convicted felon. And by the way, they're going to miss him dearly. I like Houston as well.
I don't know where you get this stuff sometimes, but let me tell you something. As far as Houston, also in double revenge because they lost in the playoffs when Matt Schaub was out. Tyler Yates was quarterbacking, lost in the regular season last year to the Ravens. But keep in mind, despite everything we said about playing poorly against the Jets after costing me money last week against Green Bay, this is a team that's still 14-3 against the spread in Matt Schaub's last 17 starts and has covered 18 of their last 25 games overall. So I'm with you. I like Houston. Plus, Baltimore's only covered 4 of their last 12 games, guys, with 4 straight point spread losses. Next up, Green Bay and St. Louis. Speaking of the Packers, you know, Packers did not look good at all this season until last week. Now they're going to take on a team that has played very good defensively. We saw St. Louis on national TV a couple Thursdays ago manhandle Arizona. True, it was Arizona. It was Kevin Cobb. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers. Interesting, though. Do you think this is a trap line with the Packers only 5.5?
I think it's a trap line both ways, and I got to tell you what I think after the game is over. But I can tell you one thing about this team. Look, Green Bay, everyone's been waiting to jump back on the Green Bay bandwagon. They made a lot of money with Green Bay last year. This year, they've been waiting for them to have that blowout. Now you're going to see them jump on the bandwagon. Not so fast. This is a St. Louis team, like Al said, very good at home. They've won all 3 games at home outright as the underdog. That's the trend that continues here. Don't be scared. Bet St. Louis at home.
And listen, the Packers are in a difficult spot. 3rd straight road game. A lot of people think, oh, my God, that's a great time to go against an NFL team. Really, it's about a 500 proposition play. But the fact is the Packers are 0-4 against the spread. The last 4 times they've been a road favorite. Remember the Seattle game? True, they got robbed by the replacement Russ, but they didn't deliver there. Last week was the best they played all season. But this is still a team that just 2 weeks ago blew a 21-7 lead at Indianapolis and ended up losing the game to the Colts.
So I was going to say that, you know, with Green Bay, the thing also is with them that, look, you have to take advantage that they're a marquee team. So if you're going to bet Green Bay, bet them now. If you're going to bet against Green Bay, wait till the last very second and take the most points you can.
Well, guys, this concludes part 1 of today's show. We've got a lot more games to cover. In fact, we're going to take a look at Dallas, Carolina coming right up after the break. We are going to be back with the Countdown to Kickoff show in just 1 more minute.